Hey, good evening, Midwest Survivor. Time for dinner chat. So, first off, I want to say thank you to everybody that is liking and subscribing to the channel. Be sure to hit the bell, hit the thumbs up. Be sure to check out the YouTube shorts. Not the YouTube shorts, but the Facebook shorts, the TikTok videos, the X post, the Pinterest post, and the Lemon 8 post. So tonight for dinner chat, I want to talk about rebuilding after coming out from leadership or church abuse. So what happens a lot of times is that when you leave an abusive church or unhealthy leadership situations, you can feel like surviving an emotional earthquake, an emotional disaster, and you not only lose connections and community and people that you tied with, you lose friends. You know, sometimes you can even lose family, your identity, your purpose, you know, all the things that shaped you and made you who you are. And healing takes time, but it is something that can be overcome. So the first thing that a person needs to do is they need to come to a place of acceptance that this is what happened, and what happened was very real. So many survivors spend years minimalizing or even sometimes in most cases, sometimes even denying that what happened actually happened. You know, you might hear common language like, well, it wasn't that bad, or, you know, every leader is flawed, or every church is flawed, or, you know, you just got offended. And sometimes you'll hear that from yourself, but more often than not, you'll hear it from people that try to minimize your feelings. And acknowledging leadership and spiritual abuse is not bitterness, but it is the first crucial step towards healing. Step number 2 is separate your relationship with God and your relationship with leadership, people you work with, you know, teachers, whatever kind of leader, you know, inflicted injury in your life. Separate that from the abuse. You know, one of the greatest tragedies of leadership abuse and church abuse is that people often confuse God with the people that hurt them, and that's not the case. Leadership fails, churches fail, human beings fail, God does not fail. And healthy faith allows room for questions, grief, and honesty. And truth be told, you know, a person's relationship with God should never be just based on a specific religion, a specific set of doctrines, or a specific pastor or leadership. A person's relationship with God should be private and should come from within. And, you know, the conversations that you have with God is just exactly that. It's a conversation between you and God and nobody else. So, healthy faith allows room for questions and grief and honesty. Number 3 is grieve what you have lost. Grieve what you've lost. Now, some of you may have lost friendships. You may have lost family relationships. You may have lost a sense of community. You may have lost years of your life. You may have lost trust. May have lost sense of identity. There may be financial mistrust that may have occurred. So grieving for those losses and dealing with those losses isn't weakness. It's not blame. It's not negativity. It's just that part of healing. You know, being honest, person that I was in a relationship with, I grieved for things by talking about these things. And this person, in their immaturity, selfishness, and stupidity, would often say, you know, this is all you talk about. This is what you bring up. Well, no, that's not necessarily the case. It's how I deal with it. We all deal with pain, loss, and grief in different ways. So, and it's a sign of maturity and a sign of wisdom to allow people to grieve correctly. Number 4, set and learn healthy boundaries. Healthy leaders welcome accountability. They welcome transparency. They don't judge. They don't force their perceptions on you. They don't force their ideologies on you. They don't tell you that you either do this, or if you don't do this, you're going to hell. They welcome accountability, they welcome transparency, and they welcome questions. Abusive leaders demand unquestioning, unflinching, total, absolute loyalty and commitment. And that is not a healthy leader that a person needs to follow. Healthy boundaries include such things such as saying no and not feeling guilt, manipulation, or toxicity when you say no. Asking difficult questions without being yelled at or screamed at. And if somebody is yelling at you and screaming at you for asking a question, then you are actually asking a question that needs to be asked and continually needs to be asked until that question is answered. Refusing manipulation. If somebody says, well, you need to do this so that I can do this, that's manipulation. Or if you bring something to light and they say, well, we don't need to talk about that right now, that's manipulation. You need to press home the fact that you want to, that there are things that need to be talked about and discussed honestly, openly, with transparency. Protecting your peace. Protecting your peace is a very important one. Your peace of mind, your emotional peace, the peace within your home, the peace within your family. I can honestly say that growing up, there was no peace in my family. There was no peace in our home. There was no peace in the relationship with my parents. There was no peace at all because there was constant chaos and constant infighting, constant outfighting with other people either coming into our home or people outside of our home causing chaos. And being honest, my parents didn't do a good job of protecting the peace of our home. Walking away when necessary. Now, this is one that's very near and dear to my heart. I had to walk away. I had to walk away from a marriage. I had to walk away from a church. I had to walk away from family relationships. I had to walk away from friend relationships. I had to walk away because nobody was listening to me. I was being forced by other people's perceptions of what they wanted me to do. I was asking questions. I was making my point known, but people were not listening to me, and I felt like I was being manipulated, guilt-tripped into staying into a situation that was emotionally abusive, verbally abusive, and constantly in a state of disrespect, walking on eggshells. I had no peace. I had no comfort, no stability at all. And after people not listening to me, family members, church members, whatever, I had to walk away and get out for my own peace of mind and my own sanity. Number 5, don't rush back into a church or a leadership situation. Now, this is very important, and this goes into relationships. You don't want to rush back into a relationship after you have left a very bad, toxic relationship. Many people look for a void or the hole to fill after leaving a bad situation. And what often happens, and I can say this because I witnessed this firsthand. Whenever I was 6 years old, my parents left one church and went directly to another one. Here's what happened. Whenever people have been hurt by bad leaders or bad churches, they do one of two things. Number one, they search for a church that can help them heal, help them become healthy, help them become strong, help them become better people. The second thing they do is they rush into a situation, and they usually end up in a more toxic, bad situation than what they originally left. Option number 2 is actually what happened to me and how I ended up from the time I was 6 to the time I was 10, getting physically, emotionally, and verbally abused by a pastor's wife under the full sight and the full knowledge of my parents. And they did nothing to protect me. So that's why it's so vitally important you don't rush back into a situation. You try different churches. In the case of my parents, they immediately rushed into a church without trying out other churches and just basically walked into a more toxic, dysfunctional situation than the one they left. Number 6, redefine your faith. Redefine your faith in leadership, redefine your faith in God. Ask yourself, what do I truly believe? What beliefs came from Scripture and what beliefs came from unhealthy leaders? Healing often involves rebuilding faith from the foundation instead of rebuilding your faith in an institution or a church or a group of people. I can honestly say that I'm going through a redefinition of my faith. There's things that I was taught all my life that I don't feel line up correctly with my life, and I am redefining my faith. It's not that I don't believe in God, but I have lost my faith in organized religion because I feel like so much of it is corrupted, so much of it is dysfunctional, so much of it is unhealthy, and so much of it is controlled by men who have not so pure motives. So therefore, I am rebuilding myself from the ground up. I've just basically obliterated everything that I grew up with, and I'm starting over from scratch. Find safe people. Now, healing rarely happens alone. Sometimes you just need to separate yourself completely from people, but other times you need to find safe people. Now, I can honestly say that in my life right now, I am healing with some safe people that I trust, that I care about, that I know care about me, that I talk to from time to time, and that really genuinely have my best interest at heart. So, look for people that listen without judging you, that don't pressure you, that don't force their perceptions of you down your throat, that will respect your boundaries, that won't try to fix you, and that will value honesty over appearances and won't be upset when you tell them no. That's the important last one. So, number 8, forgiveness is not the same as reconciliation. Now, what that means is it's okay to forgive people, but it's okay to remember what happened to you. Let me repeat that. It's okay to forgive people, and it's also okay to remember what happened to you and not let it happen again. Trust does not have to be restored with those people. Relationships don't have to continue with those people. And more importantly, you don't have to drop accountability and transparency. Forgiveness can coexist with healthy distance. And it's okay to forgive. It's perfectly acceptable to forgive, but more importantly, it's okay to not forget. And number 9, tell your story. And I have written 5 books. I do Breakfast Bits, Dinner Chat, the YouTube channel to help others. So abuse thrives in silence, but giving your pain, giving your hurt a voice allows you to tell your story. More importantly, it helps other people that are undergoing the same things, or possibly undergoing the same things that you have undergone, or they are undergoing currently. It brings clarity to your own experience. It encourages accountability and transparency, and you can replace that shame and that guilt that you're feeling in your heart with truth and honesty and sincerity. So share your story at your own pace, and not because that somebody is forcing you to, or that you feel like you have to, but do it on your time and your terms. And the last one is number 10, build a new life. Building a new life. Healing is more than just escaping abuse and having some place to run to. It's about creating a life that is defined by freedom rather than fear. So find or rediscover new or old hobbies that are healthy. Build healthy relationships where accountability, transparency, and honesty can be your norm. Reconnect with family members if if it is safe to do so with those people. If it is not safe, then do not reconnect with them, no matter who they are or what they are to you. Develop interests that were discouraged, healthy interests. Nothing self-destructive, but healthy interests that were discouraged. And discover who you are outside of the expectations and the perceptions of unhealthy leadership. So, Midwest Survivor, I want to leave you with some thoughts. So, the greatest victory over abusive leadership and church abuse is not revenge. It is not refusing to become what wounded you or who wounded you. You don't honor your past by staying trapped in it. You honor your future and you honor your present by choosing truth, accountability, transparency, and compassion. Healing begins the moment you realize your worth was never determined by a church, a person's title or leadership, or another person's approval. But your story does not end with abuse. It begins with freedom, it begins with healing, it becomes with strength, and it becomes with going strong. So Midwest Survivor, I want you to be healthy, I want you to get healthy, I want you to stay healthy, become strong, get strong, and stay strong. Y'all have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow for Breakfast Bits. Take care.